Hello there, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about Rapa Nui, which is a film that was released, in the 90s. It was directed by Kevin Reynolds, and it came between Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves and Waterworld, which is his film between the two big Costner films. It was also produced by Costner, and it was barely released. It was based on one of those films that the studio made. It had partners with the producers and the director, and it was pretty much a film they made so they could get other more conventional films from these people. It was like, we'll release this, we know it's not going to make money, but it's like, we'll release it knowing that you'll do more commercial stuff in the future for us, so we're okay with this being like, a release from our studio. So it came out, did terribly, and was gone very quickly. Now, the weird thing was, I think in Europe it actually did better than America, because even though it wasn't really released properly in the cinema, I remember that it was released in video, and videos are all over the place. So I think it actually got, because it was EIV, and they tended to mass produce the releases no matter what it was. So even if a film came out and they didn't have that much interest, it would find its audience, and people could find it. I remember getting that video there quite quickly, and I had it for years in video. And then after the video VHS market days, by the time I went to DVD, it was there was no real need for it anymore. I think EIV went out of business, so there was no distribution in Britain. American distributor was Warner Brothers, and it was like, well, they were no longer a Kevin Costner business at that point. It was like, well, he was no longer a big star, so they didn't really need to put out the films he produced on the new formats as much, just the films he was starring in and things like that. So it was like, well, this film didn't do very well, so why bother bringing it back up and sprucing it up? So there was a DVD of it that was in terrible condition, and basically it was a upscale from the VHS. That's all it was. It was like, there's no way around it. It was a terrible version of the film. It was pretty much unwatchable. So for years, Rapa Nui was pretty much ignored. It was just one of those films that some people like me had been old enough had seen it, but most people hadn't. And it was like, in Kevin Reynolds' filmography, there's quite a few of these films where he made the films, and they come out and then they kind of disappeared. I mean, Fandango, the Beast, not the Beast I just talked about in another video, but Beast of War, 187 came out later after Waterworld. So there's quite a few of his films, because he makes films when he's not doing the blockbusters that are like modestly budgeted, well-made films that have actors and stories, and none of the spectacular idiot things that just rely on to get kids watching. It doesn't have any of that, so obviously it's harder to sell it to people. So I mean, it's just that's the thing. Plus, his films visually tend to be more ambitious. He tends to try and do a lot visually rather than just rely on dialogue. He tends to try and do a lot of mood work, and he's an ambitious director. And that becomes a problem when he's doing the blockbuster films, because blockbuster films never feel quite like his films. If you see his other films like Beast or Fandango or this one, you get much more personality rather than what you'd get in Waterworld or Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Now, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, that wasn't his cut that you saw. He left the film months before, ultimately, because the studio was wanting one film and he and his people had made another film, and the film that he made was testing well, and it was like, and they kind of wanted rid of certain things, and they were trying to protect the star, and it was one of the situations where he was a loggerhead, so he ended up, did he quit or was he forced out, who knows, but it was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing what you want me to do for this film. It makes no sense. And Waterworld was a similar situation. They made the film, it cost way too much because it's shot in water. That was more of a production issue than anything else. But when he got to the cutting room, he wanted one film and Kevin Costner wanted another film. And they clashed, so Reynolds left. So basically, his two big studio films have lots of them in there in the visual sense, but there's lots of stuff there that's very Kevin Costner and is much more bloated, like traditional blockbuster thing. Because Costner likes the epic stuff and Reynolds is much more subversive of this kind of thing. So there's always going to be a clash. So Reynolds went back to making modestly budget films like 187. Then he did The Count of Monte Cristo for Disney, which did very well. It's a really fun film. He did Tristan and Isidore, which did not do well. Apparently him and James Franco did not get on. He's done Risen recently, which did pretty well. He's did Hatfield McCoys with Costner again, when they actually didn't fall out, which was nice. So he does better at the smaller projects and maybe don't get the bigger release, but they leave him alone because they don't cost enough for people to care about it. Rapa Nui is one of those ones where he was left alone, the film is his, but even he admits he never quite got everything he wanted from the film. But it's still an interesting film. It's still very good. It's still got lots of fascinating things. It's just flawed. It's flawed by a couple of things. The big flaw it's got is Jason Scott Lee as the lead actor. He cannot carry the film. And the film is much more Scott Lee's character's the protagonist, but he's not the hero. He's very flawed, he's selfish and naive. And but the actor thinks he's playing a hero, but he's not doing it very well. And you kind of get the feeling that watching the dailies, they started to cut out some of his stuff because he wasn't, as good as he could have been, is my guess. It's like he just didn't work for what they wanted. So he's at far less scenes for a lead of a film than you'd normally expect. Now some of it is because I try and balance it out between him and Isa Morales, who plays the guy who becomes the antagonist. And one of the problems of the film is you're much more on Morales' side through most of the film. You really are. He's much more interesting and there's much more to him. And he's much more idealistic with realistic expectations. And he blows away the other actors in his scenes. And Scott Lee isn't up to the task. And he comes across as way too naive early on. He's meant to be naive, but he overplays it and he's just not good enough an actor. And it's like he needed someone better here. And I think the film just always seemed cursed with this actor. And I think he did not have that. He didn't get played Bruce Lee in a film after this, and then he started to slowly go down the pecking order again because he just didn't really have the ability. He could be physical, but he didn't really have the ability in acting wise. So he kind of takes away from the film a bit. The other thing is, it's the dialogue is in English, and because it has to be, obviously it's a contractual thing. There's no language that anyone knows of from this island, so they couldn't actually say, "Oh, it's this. This is the original language." We're saying we don't know what it was because this civilization disappeared. So they use English, but it doesn't really fit well in the mouths of the actors, and it would have probably turned it better if it was in Maui with some. Subtitles. It probably would have worked better. So certain lines that make sense in context of what the characters are doing, what they're about, sound silly in English, and it becomes this issue that the film loses some of the seriousness sometimes when someone says a funny line, which is funny. It's meant to be funny because you're showing this character's gone insane. But saying it in English makes you laugh at the film rather than laugh at the character. That's a problem they never quite get beyond either. And I think because it's made worse because of the lead actor, because he's the worst offender. Other actors make some of the dialogue sound good just by being focused and saying what they want. The lead actor just can't. So there's that. There's also is an imbalance. I think they're trying to make the lead character more heroic than his actions actually were in the film, because they thought they needed a romantic lead to sell a very dark story, and the character is kind of annoying because he is so naive, and it's like, why is he so naive? So there's that, because maybe he comes from a spoiled background compared to the rest of the island. So he's a spoiled brat who has to learn to be a man, but again, because the actor is, it's a problem. So that's the big issues out of the way. Those are the problems. But what's good about the film is the atmosphere of it. I mean, Kevin Reynolds is a very good director of atmosphere. Well, in this film was we get control of them. In the blockbuster The Waterworld and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, some of that's been stripped away by the producers. But he does tend to build. He's much more influenced by people like Ridley Scott and Michael Mann, people like that, who build atmosphere in the film through the characters and through the lighting, through production design, to suggest things. They don't have to see it out loud. Although Ridley Scott pretty quickly got into the way of saying everything out loud, just in case you couldn't figure it out. So there's a lot of that here. There's a lot of sense of, there's a lot of things unsaid, that a lot of actions there that tell you so much about the world, that it's not trying to be subtle. The idea is that it's an environmental disaster. These people on this island, they're cutting down their trees for short-term political gain. There's a slave system essentially where these Morales people are pretty much told to build all the big statues that were found in Easter Island, and are treated like dirt, and nobody really likes them. And they're they're in the verge of fighting back. There's been so many people die on building these big things that don't make any sense. And as a religion that doesn't make any sense to the poor people, because it's something that the rich can afford to have because they're not starving. They have these beliefs. This information I've got, they're on this island, they think they might be the only people left in the world. Which is a wonderful thing, is a sense of these people are so isolated from the rest of the world, and they think they're the only ones left. And a lot of things come out to suggest they're not, but that's what they think. And they actually are destroying what's left of their island to make sacrifices to their gods, or the rich people are making the poor people do it, all for the insane beliefs of this system that different tribes compete to be the birdman, to be the leader of the tribes, and this one tribe has been their leader for 20 years because they've always the best fighters, but they've all died slowly but surely during this competition. And which is why Jason's got these characters to do competition now, because everyone else in his environment is dead. Really, they could have done it in his tribe because they're all dead, as that's their way of keeping power. And there's this sense of it's just a world that's just fallen into corruption. It's like there's a system of leadership based on tribes that doesn't work. None of these tribes like each other. They're all on the same island, but they're all slightly different beliefs, and they're going to try and enforce the beliefs of everyone else, just like the world. They're destroying their environment just to do that, just out of their own vanity and their own insanity, and they're slowly going mad. The Birdman leader guy, he's going mad. He's an old guy he's facing death, and he's going slowly mad, and he's looking for a miracle. He actually makes decisions based on is it a miracle or not. He's lost the understanding that a lot of these beliefs are there as a control, not something to be literally believed. Now he literally believes them, and he's terrified of the environment he's in, and he's just slowly going mad, and it's causing havoc for everyone else. And it's especially causing havoc for the Morales tribe called the Short Ears, who are the ones doing most of the work, who are getting treated brutally. So they basically strike and say, okay, unless they don't have a guy in the race, the tribe's not recognised it. Unless we get recognised and have a guy in the race, we're not working anymore, and we want more rations. And they say you can have it if you do this statue by a certain point, and they have to kill each other, kill themselves to do it. And they do it, they manage it, and at the same time Morales is training to get in to do the competition so he can win it, so that essentially his tribe can basically take over and have some semblance of sanity. And as the film goes on, you see him training, you see him become more brutal in his way of making sure this thing arrives at the time, making sure that everything's there to protect his tribe. He's just being stripped to the bone of being barely a person. He becomes his mission. He's also in love with a girl who's in love with Jason Scott Lee. That's the kind of cliched thing. But they take this kind of potentially sappy thing in the middle of the story and stick her in a cave for half the film until she's pretty much blind for a while until she comes out. As a way of controlling Scott Lee in a really brutally nasty thing done by the kind of tribesmen of his own tribe just to mess with him because she's not from their tribe, and it's a sign of how bad things are going. It's a sign of Scott Lee's character opening his eyes. It's also a sign of we're not having tons of romance scenes. We're really into the thing of the romance scenes there to show his idealism and also what Morales' character wants. But it's also it's not getting in the way. This is a story about madness within tribal life and a slowly emerging apocalypse, and that's really where the film's going. 2/3 of the way in, we get the chase. They have to go down a mountainside, cross through shark-infested waters, go to this other island, find a bird's egg, and get back and climb a mountain again. And what is basically the highlight of the film, this is an amazing sequence, so well done. Even people who hated the film loved this sequence, because it's so well done. Then all hell breaks loose, Jason Scott Lee wins it, but because the other tribe almost won it, and because of one little accident they lost the short ears tribe, the short ears go mad and just rip everything apart and just think, okay, we're taking this by force now, that's it. The Birdman gets his miracle in a really funny, twisted variation of what salvation might be for some people. And basically the island devolves into murder and cannibalism, and Morales is left with an island. He did his best to try and elevate and bring into sanity, but to do it he had to go mad, and his whole tribe went mad because it had been so brutalised for so long, for decades, and probably centuries. So it's just like everything that had been built up in the rest of his tribe that he's trying to manage just explodes into violence, and it's like and Scott Lee and his bride have to escape the island on a boat and hope for the best. It's a pretty bleak film. I mean, there's not much. I mean, there was a love story, a basic love story there that's in like 10 minutes of the film to try and save it. There's a story of these two old friends, Morales and Scott Lee, who are one's realistic and one's in his own world, and both have to get real fast, and essentially it's about their friendship falling apart, which works better than the romance, quite frankly. But basically, anytime Morales is on the screen, the film works. Anytime it's Scott Lee, depends on who he's on the screen with. But the action when it comes is great. The production design's terrific. The sense of place, even though it probably didn't happen this way, the sense of place of what they're trying to portray works really well. And it would lead into Waterworld, where again it was another place where the people were barely surviving. So that a lot of this, they took quite a lot of people from this film to Waterworld. They're the same costume designer and a lot of the same aesthetic in Waterworld. So this led to Waterworld. So So it's a very interesting film. I'm glad it's now in Warner's have actually put it out in Blu-ray for 4K transfer. It's still not the greatest transfer because it's been left for so long, but it actually does work really well. It's still a good looking film and very enjoyable to see. It's a flawed film, but the only thing is, it's one of those flawed films, yeah, it's worth seeing, it's worth watching because there's lots of good stuff. It's made by a guy who's passionate about it. Even if the film didn't live up to what he wanted and had some issues, the good stuff, I think now, when you go beyond because when the film came out, all the critics were trying to snarky as hell about it because it wasn't what they wanted. Because they just thought, this is a film we can be easily snarky about. Now we can look at it and say, yeah, there are issues, but there's lots of good stuff there too. So it's definitely worth a look. Hopefully it'll sell well and get people interested in the film because it's definitely an underrated film. So that's us for now. I hope you enjoyed this. That's me. I'll see you soon.